Welcome to yet another episode on KoBMC Photography's channel. So this video is going to be a redo of the review that I originally did with the K3 Mark III Pentax camera, because there's been a lot of firmware updates that have happened over the past almost 2 years that the camera's been out, and it's fundamentally changed the way this camera performs from start to finish. And a lot of the preliminary reviews were done on the base 1.0 firmware. We're now at firmware 1.70 with a lot of incremental firmwares in between that time, like 1.1, 1.01, 1.02, things of that nature. So I've been thinking, is this still a viable camera in 2023? And me personally, I still think it is. As a DSLR, it is a fantastic camera. It's absolutely wonderful. I really enjoy using it. I know there's a lot of mirrorless competition that those cameras can do things that a DSLR just at this time cannot do whatsoever. It's not saying that DSLRs may not catch up sometime in the future. It's unlikely, but you never know. But anyway, with the K3 Mark III as it is on its own, is this still a viable camera in 2023 if you're looking for a DSLR? So let's get into a brand new review for 2023 and let's just see. Okay, so let's take a very good look at the firmware updates that have happened over the past just shy of 2 years. Wow, I've had this camera for 2 years already. Anyway, let's take a look, and as you'll see here, so when the camera first came out, it was at firmware 1, which gave us the preliminary version of the subject recognition, which worked okay-ish. The whole eye detect autofocus, which was a big deal. Everyone was freaking out about it. It gave us the 11 frames per second in continuous autofocus, 12 frames per second in single autofocus, gave us faster autofocus in general. The UHS 2 card slot for card slot 1, regular SD speed, unfortunately, for card 2, new design, joystick, touch screen, but there were things missing. So what they did was in version 1.01, which came out shortly after the camera was released, the improved stability for performance when battery power is low condition, corrected in rare cases images that are not recorded correctly when shooting continuously in RAW format, improved stability for general performance, which nobody knows what that is. Then came changes in version 1.02. So these 1.01 and 1.02 are just incremental little tiny bug fix updates. Improved. When using both SD card slot 1 and slot 2 at the same time, operation becomes unstable in rare cases when using same SD cards. Improved stability for general performance. Now, when the firmware jumps to a completely different version, such as 1.10, that's when they've added a new feature to the camera. So at 1.10, we were then introduced to electronic shutter. And when electronic shutter is selected, high-speed shutter of fastest speed of 1/16,000th of a second is supported. And then they have a little blurb here which explains how to go about activating the electronic shutter. And here we have version 1.20, so an incremental update. This is a larger update because it's 1.2, not 1.11 or 1.12. So this corresponded to image transmitter version 2, 0.6.0, and improved the individual autofocus fine adjustment settings to identify the attachment of the HD Pentax DAAF rear converter 1.4 x AW, and again improved stability for general performance. So there were complaints that when the camera was released that people were having an issue with autofocus fine adjustments when they mounted the HD rear 1.4 x rear converter to the camera. So that was improved. Then they came out with 1.21, which just believe this was the one where They didn't come out and say it, but, well, sorry, they came out and said it. They didn't include it in the description for the firmware, where they improved the subject recognition system. And then for version 1.31 is when they added soooo for the custom image, and then they added the tone curve display to custom image. Tone curve display, I still love it. For me, it's a great visual representation of the changes that you're making to how the image contrast and everything will actually be. And then, of course, improved stability for general performance. Then they came out with version 1.41, which added the Astro Tracer Type 3. So built-in Astro Tracer right out of the box was missing. And then they figured out a way. My guess is to use the 307,000 pixel RGB IR sensor to assist the camera in regards to being able to track the stars and tell the sensor where to tilt. So that was a pretty big, to me, this was a pretty big deal. No longer needing reliance on GPS in order to have Astro Tracer that functions. And then, of course, the usual, they also improved the autofocus accuracy and stability during viewfinder shooting, which was another tweak to the subject recognition as well. And of course, the usual blurb at the bottom, which I'm going to stop saying because it's getting ridiculous. They always say that. Then in version 1.5, which is another incremental update, they added the Katten to custom image and explained which lenses that works on. Then they came out with version 1.60, which added custom image special edition Kyushu, which again only works with certain lenses. And then they also optimized the operation for the HD DFA macro 100 f2.8 AW. They corrected the mode dial issue where the name that you've set in your user settings would not display on the LCD. So they fixed that. It shows up for a few seconds when you switch the mode dial. Should be good enough. You can always recall it in the info panel. And again, improve stability for general blah, blah, blah. Then for version 1.70, they added custom image special edition Fuyuno. I'm probably completely butchering that, but it is what it is. And again, explanation of the lenses that you can use it on. Added the focus limiter for the HD DFA macro 100 f2.8 EDAW. They added the autofocus point for horizontal and vertical composition for autofocus with viewfinder shooting, as well as live view shooting, where the reference position and movement position of the focus point can be maintained for each of the vertical and horizontal compositions. And they also added the extra small focus point, which has been phenomenal for shooting birds and other very, very complicated scenes with little tiny areas where you want to get in focus. This has become one of the best things Pentax has ever done. And it does actually allow you pinpoint autofocus. And they also added a 1.7 time crop capability as well. So you have full range, 1.3 crop, 1.7 crop. Now the 1.7 crop works out to about 9 megapixels, which is fine for uploading to Facebook, Flickr, things like that, you know, just digital uploads on social media. It's perfectly fine. So how many firmware updates was that? Because this is getting kind of crazy. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 firmware updates in the past couple of years. So about 5 firmware updates per year. That is, at least for Pentax, that is absolutely insane. That is insanity. I don't think they've ever put out that, well, no, they've never put out that many firmware additions for one camera in that short of a span of time. It's just never happened before. So now that that's out of the way, you can see how much of a difference all these firmware updates have actually done in regards to the K3 Mark III and its capabilities. So how does that translate into 2023? Is the camera still worth it? That's tough. That is tough. I am a Pentaxian. It's what I shoot. I have no regrets with purchasing the K3 Mark III. However, there are still some DSLR cameras that are out there that you can still buy them new, and the prices have drastically dropped, and that is a big problem. This camera still goes for, actually, let's take a look, shall we? Let's see if it's actually on sale. Let's check Amazon. Amazon.ca, because I'm in Canada. You know how it is. Let's see, PENTAX K-3 Mark III. Okay, yep, it is now $21.99. So it's $21.99. Now, this is where it's a problem, because there are a number of DSLRs that are extremely capable at pretty much the same price. There are some mirrorless cameras around the same price as well that are insanely capable and have features that just have not come to fruition in regards to a DSLR at all. So, yeah, what do? You know what I mean? Like, for $21.99, yes, the price has come down. If you do have a number of Pentax lenses, and you don't want to start over on another system and you want a DSLR, this is pretty much your only choice. It is highly capable, and at the same time, depending on what your shooting elements are, this very well could be your absolute only choice. For example, the Astro Tracer Type 3, having that capability. No other brand has that. And especially with the fact that you don't need to use the GPS, so there's no electromagnetic interference or anything like that, because I know that was an issue with the GPS and the OGPS unit that you can get as an external attachment. Electromagnetic fields, things like that, radio waves could interfere, and you don't have to worry about that with Astro Tracer Type 3, and it works remarkably well. You also have, so that's good for astro photographers that are getting started. Yes, I know you can get equatorial mounts and all that and telescopes and yada yada, but just focusing on the camera itself, having that capability is amazing, period. Nobody else has that. On top of that, with the improved autofocus, wildlife photographers, it's a great camera to use. The only shortcoming is the buffer is a bit small. So if you are a long burst shooter, this may not be the best choice for you. However, if you are heavily invested, again, in Pentax lenses and whatnot, and you want the ultimate wildlife Pentax camera, this, again, is your only choice. Portrait shooters. Now with the extra small focus point, better subject recognition for the eye detection autofocus, which I did a video of, and it does work very well. And now with the ability to change the composition automatically in regards to where the focus point is, if you're holding it in portrait orientation or landscape orientation. For portraiture, street, absolutely phenomenal. Yes, it does not have a tilt screen. I get it. It's not the most ideal camera for landscapes if you rely on having a tilt screen. However, with that said, the image quality that it produces, even at very high ISO, and the sharpness and just overall color fidelity that it produces across the ISO range, it is an absolutely remarkable camera. And for the $21.99 that you can get it for now, it is a hard pill to swallow, because there are mirrorless cameras out there that are faster, have deeper buffers, have better subject detection with eye autofocus on insect, dust particle, alien from another world. They will focus on anything, pretty much, and it will stick with it. But again, it's a different technology. They have, now we're at literally thousands of focus points across the frame. So comparing that with 101 focus points on a DSLR, pretty big difference. So there are some gaps. However, it is capable as long as you know what you're doing with the camera. At the end of the day, I do still think the camera is worth it. Now that the price has come down, and I believe it will be going down most likely again towards holiday time, you'll have to wait again. And there may be some sales here and there. If you can get one refurbished directly from Ricoh, go for it. If you're on the fence, this camera is, for a Pentax camera, this camera still is absolutely unheard of. The performance, the speed, the tactile feel, the capability, the image quality, the color rendition, the improvements. This is a thoroughly done back to back, front to back, up and down, side to side. They have completely and utterly reworked everything that we thought about what a Pentax camera is capable of. And I still have absolutely no regrets purchasing this thing. When I first purchased it, yes, I did have some buyer's remorse. I was like, oh, I don't know, did I make the right decision? I was thinking of getting this camera or that camera, and I don't know. It took me a while to come to grips with how the camera actually operates. Once I actually did start understanding it more, I became more comfortable with it, and those regrets went away. And I've been absolutely happy ever since. And I know that this video is glitching a little bit. I'm trying something out. It's a wireless connection to my smartphone as a webcam, which is something the K3 Mark III does not do. So, other DSLRs do, like the Canon 90D. I believe a bunch of Nikons do it as well. Pentax does not do that, unfortunately. But we do have image sync, which on the K3 Mark III works a lot better than the older generation Pentax cameras. I don't know, I guess it's the operating system in the K3 Mark III, but image sync works beautifully, at least in my scenarios that I've used it in. Everything from syncing the time of the camera to the smartphone time, so the time's always correct, to being able to geolocate where you took the photos, to downloading the photos, uploading the photos, connecting. I have not had an issue. It's been a much better experience than it was on the first generation. So anyway, that is going to be it for this. I already did a very in-depth video on a review. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and neither was this one. However, this is a pretty specific camera, and I believe that this is a big thank you from Pentax to Pentaxians to finally give us maybe not 100% of what we wanted, but 95% of what we have absolutely been begging for. A top-notch, beautifully designed, absolutely capable camera that can shoot pretty much everything and anything. And we finally have it. And that's it. If you like the video, leave a like. If you have not already, please do subscribe. Always helps out. And if you want to support the channel, that info's down there at the bottom. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section below. And that's it. You'll see me on my next video. I'm out.